Today I'm making spicy chicken cuts with rice and noodle soup. For this recipe, I will be using chicken, rice noodles, broccoli, eggs, ham, rice, and an assortment of seasonings that I will show as I use them. This recipe is actually something that was a bit of an experiment for me when I first started cooking. I would watch a lot of different cooking shows and anime where they suddenly throw in some unexpected ingredient, and I decided I wanted to try it. Most of the ingredients I'm using comes from just my local Kroger, dollar store, but one of them is a bit special. The rice noodles, also known as rice sticks, on the package at least, come from a foreign friend of the family's shop. She tends to sell more Asian food products and things that you wouldn't really find at a American store. Like you wouldn't be able to go to Kroger and be able to find it. So I'm going to hop back in to my cooking, show the different steps as I do things, and at the end I will talk about why I felt like this particular recipe really went along with what I worked on this week. So let's hop to it. Starting up, we're going to start with our chicken. And I've already pre-marinated our chicken. And for the chicken, I use chicken seasoning, paprika, a little bit of Creole, and garlic salt. Also, just a small bit of meat tenderizer. Not too much, don't make the meat salty. But I marinated this and I let it sit for about an hour or two in the fridge. And in this bowl, I have my egg batter, which is mixed with just a little bit of sea salt. Now, I'm going to be dipping the chicken into this egg batter so that my crumbs that I've made will stick better to the meat. And this is my homemade crumbs. It is a mix of flour, sour cream and onion crackers, and hot Cheetos. Now my grease is already preheated, as along with most of the other things that I'll be doing. It's already either preheated, pre-cut, or it is currently heating as I go. Sink, and we'll rinse that off after we drop the chicken. Now we're going to stir our meat into our batter. Just want to be able to get it good and coated. One thing about doing this so you don't burn your grease is you want to like shake it just a bit so that you're not losing all your crumbs just into the grease. Now these are going to cook pretty fast, so as soon as you drop them, you want to go ahead and be ready to move to the next part. So I'm going to set this to the side. Really just cleaning up as you go. First you will wash after you have finished. Okay, so we're going to drop these, and as I said, they're going to cook very quickly, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step. Up next, we're going to start with our rice noodles. Now, for my rice noodles, I like to add just a little bit of oil to my boiling water, mainly so my noodles don't stick. So we're going to add in just a little, really just enough to make a couple bubbles. And we're going to drop our noodles in. Now these tend to cook very quickly, so it won't be that long of a wait. Turn them around just a little and let them do their thing. Now, you want to go ahead and get you just a small Tupperware to place your chicken in once it's finished, and line it with paper towel. You want to give those just a little shake. Note, your chicken is not going to stay in this as the final product, but this is to drain the grease off of it. And while our noodles and our chicken are finished cooking, we're going to go ahead and steam our broccoli. I did go ahead and pre-cook my rice, so it is already done. I am really just waiting for everything else to be finished because the rice will be done last. And we're going to pour in a little bit of water mixed with salt. Really just want to cover our entire broccoli. And we're going to place a lid on top of it. Now, while those do their thing, we're going to go ahead and lift up our chicken, which is looking nice and crisply done. And we're going to stir our noodles just a bit. Now, our noodles are getting close to being done. Not quite, but very close. So, I'm going to go ahead and take out our chicken so that it can be draining itself of grease. Really just want to layer them in the bowl so that it can try and all touch the paper towel some. Some will be stacked on top of each other, but that is okay. Now we are done with the grease, so we're going to go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to move that to the side. And this is the finished chicken. As you can see, the hot Cheetos have caused it to have a bit of a red tint. And we're going to bring over our pot of rice. Now, our noodles are pretty much done, so I'm gonna get ready to scoop them out and into our bowl. Now, for your noodles, you want to go ahead and place these in your actual plating bowl because everything else that will be done inside of the bowl. Let those go just a little longer, just to be sure. And while these are go ahead and finishing up cooking, we're going to start adding in our seasoning to our water that is boiling with the noodles. So we're going to add a little bit of sea salt, just a few shakes. And we're going to add in some smoked Memphis barbecue seasoning. Now this is just going to give it a little bit of smoky flavor. You don't want to add too much, just really one shake or two. It's also going to help give it some color. You're also going to add some paprika. As you're adding, you kind of want to stir these around so that they don't just glump up on the noodles. The seasoning will glump on the noodles if you don't stir. And we're going to add some garlic salt. Now, depending on how much you like the taste of garlic, you can go heavy, but I would advise you not to go too heavy because remember, this is salt. You want to stir those around just a little, not too much. And then we're going to add some Creole. We want to check on our broccoli, see how it's doing. And I would say that our noodles are done. So we are going to get ready to put them in our bowl. Now be careful because the noodles are hot and you're placing them in a bowl. The bowl will get hot. Now these are our noodles before we add any seasonings otherwise in our sauce. There are a few string noodles attached to my spoon, but that is okay. Now, we are going to add just a packet of soy sauce to the noodles before we add in our sauce that we have created out of the broth. And we're going to stir that up a bit. Not too much because as of right now, your noodles are in a very vulnerable state and they will start to stick. If your noodles are starting to stick, you probably want to speed up this pace. And now you're going to ladle in some of your broth. Once you've ladled in your broth, you can turn that off. And you're going to stir it up just a little bit more. Really just mixing it all together. And we're going to check on our broccoli. And our broccoli is pretty much close to being done. But we're going to drop in about a spoonful of butter, just to give the broccoli some flavor before we put it inside of our noodles. So we're just going to drop in a spoonful, and we're going to put right back on that, and I am going to wash my hands. Okay, now that we have that going, I'm going to take this out, flip it to the side, just for a moment, and we're going to put this right here. Now you want to get you another skillet and go ahead and turn your other eye on and let it start warming so that we can cook our egg. Okay, we have got our other skillet, and we're going to drop another pat of butter inside of the skillet, just so our egg doesn't stick to the pan and burn. And while that melts, we're going to put the butter up because we are done with it. Okay, we're going to check on our broccoli, and it is done. So we're going to turn it off, and we are going to spoon some of it inside of our soup. Depending on how much you want, you can add in a whole lot, or you can just add in a little. But have our broccoli, and now we are going to scoot our broccoli over to the side of the bowl to the right, just mainly for presentation. We're going to sit our fork back in there. We're going to cover up the rest of the broccoli and move it off to the side because we're not using it. Now we're going to swish around our pan of butter, and it is pretty much melted so that our pan is ready, and we're going to crack our egg. And we're going to let that cook, and while that cooks, we're going to add our pieces of meat, which is the ham, to our noodles. Now I cut the ham into strips. They're like little thin strips. You don't necessarily have to use ham, but I chose ham. And you're really just going to layer this beside the broccoli, facing on the bowl part facing towards you. Distilled white vinegar and some Creole and some regular salt. to not only brush into the mold, but we're also going to brush onto the actual rice after we take it out the mold. So let's go ahead and start making that, but first I'm going to grab my spatula. While I was at it, I went ahead and grabbed my little brush. So we're just going to dip this in here. I'm going to just brush into our mold. Just a little. And we are going to scoop up some of our rice. You want your rice to still be at least partially warm. Not scalding hot, but warm enough so that it's not just a cold one. And we're going to scoop some of our rice into our mold. And we're going to press it in. Now, once we've got it pressed together, we are going to scrape the outer outsides off, and we can actually just scrape that back into the pan. And we're going to let that sit a moment. And while that sits, we are going to check on our egg, which is looking rather done. So, now with our egg, we don't want the outer little parts that fried because it's a little bit crispy, you know? So we're going to flip that. We're just going to let that do for just a second. We're not going to let this fully cook through because the egg's going to actually break inside of our noodles, and we're going to stir it into the noodles. So that's really quite enough. Now I am not an expert egg fryer, so don't come for me. But we're going to just drop that right in between our broccoli and our meat. And we're going to place this in the sink. Make sure that we turned off our eye. And we're going to finish up our rice. Now, as I was saying, you're going to just scrape off the rest so that your mold is just really fully closed. It might gape a little, but looks all tiny and neat. Afterwards, we're going to dump it out onto the plate, and it will cause it to look like this. Now we're going to take our little ham pieces that we cut out earlier, and I cut out some little shapes, a little fish, and we're just going to stick it to our rice. Now you actually can do this before you place your rice into the mold, but I choose to wait afterwards in some cases. And I'm going to take one of the soy sauce packets that I had earlier, and I only cut just a small little tear, and we're just going to add a little flavor. If you really want to get fancy with it, you can try making designs, but my hand isn't really that steady for this, so we're just going to spray it on just a little. Just enough to give it a little flavor. And we're going to go ahead and make us another one. On this one, I'm going to actually go ahead and put the design in the middle before I place the rice in. of course, I am not a professional cook, so it's not going to be the best, but it's edible, and that's what counts. We're going to scoop in some more rice. And then we just make sure it's full. Now the thing about this rice is I used white rice, and white rice is kind of sticky, which is good in this case because we want our rice to stick together. And we're going to just press that in and squeeze to really put our shape together. That rice spraying out of places. But and we're going to take this off. Now it did move around a little, so it's not perfect, but we have another one, little paw print. And we're going to set that right here beside the one with the fish. Now we're going to set our bowl right here in this empty space. And we're going to actually lean our little kitten heads right beside it. And we're going to add just another piece of chicken, just to make it special. And hold on. And this is the final product. Now that we have finished our meal and letting it cool, I want to talk about why I thought this recipe was very good for this study assignments that we worked on this week. I kind of thought this was a good idea because if I were to take the noodles out of this entire recipe and just did the little rice balls and the chicken cuts, they would have been one of the meals that could be found in a Japanese obento made by Japanese mothers. I also think that it goes along well with the particular things that I studied this week because of the presentation. Japanese obentos, they really work on their presentation. It's not just about the food, it's also about how it's presented and fashion-wise. And as you can see, I put a lot of detail in how I choose to present mine. That so that it is not only pleasing to the mouth, but it is also pleasing to the eye. That is all, and I hope you enjoyed.